What's up and welcome to Kaizer's channel. Today we'll be doing a comparison between the normal X1 and also the X1 full cloth as promised. This is because some of you, like myself, really want to know if there's really any reason or necessity that they need to include the entire X1 body for the full cloth version. Or can it be just included as an option set? So let's find out together in this video. To start off, let's take a look on the coloring first. Now the white on both of them looks to be the same, although the full cloth version is actually a tad more white than the original one, but it's very faint, so you might not notice it. As for the dark color on the chest and also the shoulder, the original is a very dark blue, almost as if it's a black color, while the new one is also a dark blue but a lot lighter with a bit of purple tones to it. As for the gold and also the red on both of them looks to be identical, so there's nothing really much there. Decal wise, the original uses a gold coloring while the new one uses silver. And you can tell from its left shoulder on the decals, which is very apparent. You can see the difference between the two. Aside from just the coloring, the new one also has a little more decals on it, which you can see are these red dotted strips all over the body, which makes it a lot more detail. So just on the coloring itself, I really think the original one looks better with the dark color and also the gold decal strip. Moving on, we have the physical difference, which is actually pretty obvious that we can tell that there's at least two major parts that are different. One is the head, where the full cloth one has this feather-like antenna on its left side, which you can move, while the original one doesn't have this at all. The second and the foremost obvious one is the skull on the chest itself. Obviously, original one doesn't have the skull design on it, but it does have this logo at the bottom half of the chest piece, while the new one has the skull design on it, and there are what's supposed to be a Vulcan for the eyes of the skull, which is very nicely designed. Aside from these two parts, the rest of them is pretty much the same, right? Or so we thought. Apparently there's actually one more part that is different, which is not noticeable and not everyone notices it, and that is because it's actually located on the back of the main body, which is this piece right here, the rear thigh guard. Although from afar they might look to be identical, but if we take a closer look inside, there's actually a slight difference, which are these side two pieces. The new one has these two gray pieces on the side which can be taken off and act as a weapon, the screw whip, while the old one doesn't have this at all, so definitely really not noticeable. As for the gimmicks, what the old one can do, the new full cloth one can do as well, and it actually can do much more. So definitely the original it's losing on this gimmick part. Now I'll take a quick pause right here because judging from what we know so far, there's really not much a reason why we need to include the entire body, given that most of the difference can be done with an interchangeable part, with the exception of the bottom of the skull piece on the full cloth itself, which to be fair, that's hard to interchange. Now let's take a look on the weapons and armament. As you can see right now, the full cloth totally outweighs the original by far, and I'm not going to cover every single items on those, but only those that are in common and also some of the special items. So the only common items between the two is that the buster gun, the beam zamber, the grenade, and also those two blades that can be combined with the hidden handles or put under the feet, and that's about it. Aside from that, there are some beam effects which both of them have as well, which are the brand marker, beam shield, and also the two different types of sword effects for the beam zamber. In terms of color though, the gold on the full cloth one is actually a lot more pale than what the original one has, which just totally throws me off as I have no idea why they would do that. The original one looks already absolutely beautiful, not sure why they need to tone it down to make it more crappier. But not only is the paint itself, it doesn't look good, but the paint job quality is also done quite poorly. As you can see on the triangle of the beam zamber, the little triangle is actually not fully colored, so definitely can do much more better on this part. As for the differences, the major one between the two, aside from the weapons, are the cloak itself. The original one has this torn, rough fabric cloth which has this movable structure as a skeleton for the mat, while the full cloth has a full cloth that's fully made out of plastic and it's colored really nicely. That looks super cool. Not to mention that there's quite a number of gimmicks in there as well that I've gone through in my review with that. However, one interesting thing on the cloak is that the center chest piece on the full cloth, the top part, as you can see the coloring, it's actually darker on the top half than the rest of the main body, which I have no idea what it is. And if you put this piece on the original X1, the color matches a lot better than the full cloth one, and it almost looks to be the same color as the original one, which is very interesting. Because I'm not sure if they originally were planning to use this on the original body, but somehow they have changed their plans in midway and went with a new body and also a new paint job. So that's a really interesting point. I'm not sure if anyone can actually answer me on that one. I have no idea on this. But anyways, so far we have gone through the items that's what the original X1 has. The full cloth has as well, but even more. So does that mean the original X1 is obsolete? Well, to answer that, there's actually one single item that makes the original one does have a little bit of advantage over the full cloth, which is this little fellow right here, the Mecha Parrot Billy. This cute little guy is actually a metal build original, which is exclusively on the original X1 only. And obviously the full cloth doesn't have this, which is a bit unfortunate, because this little guy is absolutely adorable, and it can actually move quite a bit as well. So that's the only thing that the original one has over the full cloth. As for the stand, they actually look pretty similar, but there are actually differences, which is the full cloth design is actually all scratched up like battle scars, and you can see that on all four corners and also on the nameplate itself, while the original one is nice and clean. The logo on the center is actually different as well, as you can see. Not to mention that the design on all four corners are slightly different, very minor, but it is different. Last and the most obvious is that the full cloth one has the title written in silver on the right side. Honestly, I'm actually not too fond of this design of the full cloth because I find it's actually very lazy. They actually just kind of edited from the old one and put it out on it. I think they actually could have done a lot better with a new VD design on it. It would have actually looked more beautiful. That actually matches the whole entire full cloth piece itself. In conclusion, which one should you go for? Well, honestly, that goes without saying is the full cloth, because not only do you have the awesome looking full cloth, but also has tons of more weapons and gimmicks on it. Although there are a few things that I actually like the original better, which is the overall coloring scheme is actually a lot better than the full cloth main body does. Not that the full cloth is bad, but just that if I had to choose between the two, I would definitely prefer the original dark color with the gold decals line. But that's only my opinion. The second is that the Mecha Parrot Billy, which is definitely a cute collection to the whole entire metal build, but without it, the original one X1 doesn't really have much purpose to exist because everything that it can do on its own, the full cloth can pretty much do the same, if not more. Now back to the original question where if the full cloth really needs to include the main body, and my personal answer is no. That is because the items that we've gone through, majority of them can be replaced by an interchangeable part, with the exception of the lower half of the chest. That part is actually quite difficult, but I think that if Bandai really wants, they could have done something around it. But probably after the analysis, they probably think it's actually worth more to include the main body instead of just putting it as interchangeable parts. And that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it and find it useful. As always, do support me by hitting that like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.